The Blue Ridge Parkway is a 469-mile scenic highway with a speed limit that never exceeds 45 miles per hour. It connects Shenandoah Valley National Park in Virginia to Great Smoky Mountains National Park in North Carolina. The parkway passes near the towns of Roanoke, Blowing Rock, and Asheville, as well as traversing George Washington National Forest, Jefferson National Forest, and Pisgah National Forest. It is divided into 4 regions. Ridge region from mile 0 to 106, Plateau from mile 106 to 217, Highlands from mile 217 to 340, and Pisgah from mile 340 to 469. The completion of the Skyline Drive in Shenandoah National Park in 1933 inspired President Franklin Roosevelt to construct a parkway through the Blue Ridge Mountains. Construction officially began on September 11, 1935 on what was originally called the Appalachian Scenic Highway. Stanley Abbott, the lead designer, implemented an environmentally sensitive design plan that preserved the cultural history of the route, which remains as one of the most significant examples of landscape architecture in the country. Private contractors performed most of the construction, but Roosevelt also employed the Works Progress Administration, Emergency Relief Administration, and Civilian Conservation Corps. By the outbreak of World War II, 170 miles were open, with another 160 miles open by the early 1950s. The parkway, as we know it today, wouldn't be completed until 1987 when the Lynn Cove Viaduct was installed, ending the 52-year project. Along the route are 200 pull-offs, 68 in Virginia and 132 in North Carolina. There are also 26 tunnels along the parkway, 1 in Virginia and 25 in North Carolina. Over 16 million people visit the parkway, making it the second most visited property operated by the National Park Service behind the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Before we get too far down the road, what is the difference between the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains? The Blue Ridge Mountains are a 615-mile-long subrange of the Appalachian Mountains. They stretch from southern Pennsylvania through Maryland, West Virginia, North and South Carolina, Tennessee, and end in northern Georgia. The Blue Ridge Mountains have their own subranges, including the Blacks, Roans, and most notably the Great Smoky Mountains. Lastly, trees put the blue in Blue Ridge from the isoprene released into the atmosphere. This contributes to the characteristic haze on the mountains and their perceived color. Now, let's explore some of the highlights of the parkway with a couple stops adjacent to the route. Near the Afton Overlook at the parkway's northern end is the Humpback Mountain Farm Visitor Center. This site shows what a mountain farm would have looked like in the late 19th century, with a log cabin, pig pen, barn, and other buildings. These buildings are authentic structures that have been relocated to this site from the surrounding area. Every farmer had razorback hogs that ran wild in the forest, eating acorns and chestnuts. In the fall, the best animals were rounded up, placed in a pen such as this, and fed corn to harden the fat before butchering. Dug into the hillside, this cool, dark root cellar was a storehouse for vegetables and fruits. Smoke and cured meat hung from the rafters. There were also spring houses that acted like a walk-in refrigerator of the pioneer. Spring water kept the milk, butter, and eggs cool and fresh. Ashes from the fireplace were collected and dumped into this hopper. Water poured through the ashes produced lye, which was collected from the drain at the bottom. The lye was mixed with old fat and meat drippings to make soap. As you can see, life on the farm required a lot of manual work. Long before farmers lived off the land, Native Americans survived off these same lands. Native American tribes that called this region home included the Monacan, Saponi, Tutelo, and most notably Cherokee. Fields that are still visible at the base of the mountains were cleared by natives for agricultural purposes using methods such as burning and deadening trees. Common crops included corn, beans, and squash. These were referred to as the Three Sisters. They also cultivated sunflowers and pumpkins, and of course hunted wild game like white-tailed deer. Of the tribes mentioned, the Cherokee were the largest, covering a territory estimated at 40,000 square miles with an estimated population of 22,500 in 1650. A part of what is known as the Trail of Tears was the Cherokee removal of 1838, the last forced removal of a native tribe east of the Mississippi. Today, they are the largest tribe in the United States with over 450,000 tribal citizens worldwide. Our first detour off the Parkway is a short 15-mile drive to Natural Bridge in Virginia. At 215 foot tall, 90 feet long, Natural Bridge is the largest natural land bridge in North America. The massive bridge was formed when the roof of a limestone cave collapsed and has since been eroded by the Cedar Creek. For the Monacan tribe, the bridge was a sacred place and was an attraction for American colonists. In 1750, a young George Washington surveyed the site and is rumored to have carved his initials in the rock. Thomas Jefferson called the site the most sublime of nature's works when he purchased 157 acres of land, including the bridge, from King George III of England in 1774. As we move on from Natural Bridge, we pass by a cave once used for the production of gunpowder. A major ingredient to gunpowder is saltpeter. Nitrate-rich compounds were collected from the cave, then boiled to concentrate and crystallize the potassium nitrate into saltpeter, like reducing a sauce when cooking. After passing over the James River, the lowest point along the Parkway at an elevation of 649 feet, we come to the Visitor Center and Lodge at the peaks of Otter. The 63-room lodge was opened in 1964 on the shore of Abbott Lake, but people have been visiting this location since the 1850s. In 1781, Thomas Jefferson incorrectly wrote in his Notes of the State of Virginia that the peaks were of greater height, measured from their base, than any others in our country, and perhaps North America. At 4,001 feet, Peaks of Otter isn't even the highest peak in Virginia, which is Mount Rogers at 5,729 feet. Captain Henry DuPont during the Civil War wrote something similar when he said, "One of the most superb views on the whole American continent lay before us." Near Peaks of Otter is Mabry Mill. The mill was built around 1910 by Edwin Mabry, a jack of all trades who had been a chairmaker, a miner, a coal company blacksmith, and a farmer. He and his wife, Mentoria Lizzie Mabry, operated the mill until 1936, grinding corn and sawing lumber for their meadows of Dan neighbors. In 1945, the National Park Service restored and landscaped the mill. Today, it is said to be the most photographed feature on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Mabry built separate flumes to catch the runoff from two small streams to feed a sing trough called a race. The water from the troughs were used to spin a large water wheel, which in turn spun heavy millstones to grind wheat and corn. These stones are from a quartz quarry and were shaped at the quarry, but the miller dressed or sharpened them with homemade chisels. Here we see a device used in making sorghum molasses out of sorghum grass. Making sorghum molasses became popular during the Civil War, when supplies of sugar and corn syrup were interrupted. After juice is collected from the press, it is cooked for a few hours in an evaporator until it caramelizes. About 10 gallons of juice can make 1 gallon of syrup. The practice continues today in many communities, where the sweet smell of boiling sorghum can be enjoyed in the cool October air. Another product made in the mountains went by many names like corn liquor, white lightning, Mountain Dew, but most know it as moonshine. The home-brewed whiskey has been made for hundreds of years, going back to the colonial era. In fact, George Washington was believed to be the largest producer at one time. During Prohibition, the activity was made illegal. This forced the production to be done in secret, mostly done at night, hence the name moonshine. The sport of NASCAR grew out of bootleggers modifying their cars to be able to outrun police as they transported the illegal substance. A short drive from the Mabry Mill we come to the home of legendary midwife, Orlean Puckett. Orlean was born in 1844 and is known for delivering over 1,000 babies in the Appalachian Mountains of southern Virginia. 118 miles south, near Blowing Rock, North Carolina, we come to the former summer retreat for the denim king, Moses Cone. Flat Top Manor was the summer home of Moses and Bertha Cohn. Known as the Denim King, Moses built his fortune with textile mills, which produced denim fabric for companies such as Levi Strauss. The home was built in 1901 and featured central heating, indoor plumbing, and gas lighting. The massive home has 23 rooms in its nearly 14,000 square feet. Shortly after Moses Cohn had this home built, he opened his White Oak Mill in 1905, which was the largest denim mill in the world at the time. From Flat Top Manor, we arrive at the Linville Viaduct, the last segment of the Blue Ridge Parkway to be constructed. 153 precast concrete segments were used to build the 1,234-foot viaduct, which was completed without a single structural problem. Not one crack in any of the precast segments. As we look at these stunning views from Rough Ridge, near the viaduct, let's take a minute to remember the Overmountain Men. They were people who lived on the boundary of the colonies and the West Frontier during the 1780s and would serve an important role in the American Revolution. In 1780, British Major Patrick Ferguson threatened to bring his army across the mountain to hang their leaders and lay waste to the land with fire and sword if they did not swear allegiance to the king. This did not set well with the Overmountain Men. The men, who were originally reluctant to support the Patriot cause, decided to band together, and with nearly 1,000 rifle-armed mountain militia men rode down to Kings Mountain in South Carolina, where they met Ferguson's soldiers at Kings Mountain. On October 7, 1780, the Overmountain Men used silence and stealth as they ascended the ridge of Kings Mountain to surprise the enemy. The battle lasted only an hour. The short skirmish resulted in over 200 British deaths, including Major Ferguson, another 160 wounded, and about 700 prisoners. This battle became a crucial turning point for the American Revolution. Our last detour off the Parkway is to Grandfather Mountain. This 5,946-foot mountain is home to a visitor center, zoo, and a mile-high bridge at the top of the mountain. The bridge is 228 feet long and a mile high. French botanist André Michaux climbed the mountain in August of 1794. He wrote in his journal, "Reached the summit of the highest mountain in all of North America, and with my companion and guide, sang the Marseillaise, and shouted, 'Long live America and the Republic of France! Long live liberty!'" Long before the bridge was built, early explorers were known to hunt on the mountain, including Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone was an American pioneer and frontiersman born in 1734. He is known for exploring and settling of Kentucky, as well as founding Boonesboro, one of the first English-speaking settlements west of the Appalachian Mountains. Within the visitor center are displays of minerals and rocks found in the area and North America. In 1799, 12-year-old Conrad Reed found a 17-pound gold nugget on his family's farm in the Piedmont region of North Carolina, 135 miles east of Grandfather Mountain. Conrad's father bought the surrounding land and opened the Reed gold mine. At its peak, gold mining was second only to farming in the number of North Carolinians it employed, and led the nation in gold production until the California Gold Rush of 1849. As we continue south, we take a short walk into the woods to see Crabtree Falls. The falls along Big Crabtree Creek tumble 70 feet. Creeks and rivers like this provide habitats for approximately 50 species of amphibians, 43 of which are salamanders. In fact, nearby Great Smoky Mountains National Park is considered the salamander capital of the world. The largest salamander in North America is found in creeks like this. The Easter hellbender is a huge salamander that can grow up to 2.5 feet long and weigh up to 5 pounds. Other animals found in the forests along the parkway include black bear, turkeys, white-tailed deer, bobcat, fox, and beaver, to name a few. Another highlight of the parkway is the blooming Catawba rhododendrons. These evergreen shrubs grow at elevations over 3,000 feet and are a sign of the beginning of summer when blooming. One of the best places to see the blooming plant is at Craggy Gardens. Our last stop before exiting the Parkway is the Southern Highland Craft Guild near Asheville, North Carolina. At the center, take in the finest in traditional and contemporary crafts of the Southern Appalachians and is home to the Southern Highlands Craft Guild. Based on European traditions, the early mountain textiles were woven on handmade looms from homespun wool, cotton, and flax. Products consisted of yardage for clothing, sheets, blankets, and coverlets. Other items found at the center include pottery, paintings, and woodcrafts. 469 miles from the start of the Blue Ridge Parkway at the southern tip of Shenandoah National Park, we arrive at the eastern entrance of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Blue Ridge Parkway. Thank you for watching.